Dear students, I am Manoj Kushwaha. Today we will discuss about another alternative energy source, that is tidal power. Actually, tidal energy is a form of hydropower that converts the energy of the ocean or sea tides into useful form of electrical power. This is the only form of energy whose source, if we can say, is the moon. So what are tides and what are the basic physics behind the tides? We will discuss it here. We know that the two very heavy bodies, if they are separated by a distance, then a gravitational pull will always be there, and that is proportional to their mass and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. We all know this physics. Tides are based on this force. As we know that gravitational pull of the sun and moon and the pull of the centrifugal force of rotation of the earth moon system is there, and so these creates the tides, which are of many kinds. If the land mass line up with the earth moon system, the water around it is at high tide, and if the land mass is at 90 degree to the earth moon system, then the water around it will be at low tide. It means there will be two high tides and two low tides will be there during each period of the rotation of the earth. There are some other tides which we call spring and neap tides, which depends upon the orientation of the sun, moon and the earth. While high spring tides and low neap tides are there, which can be defined as high spring tides are those tides which occurs when the sun and moon line up with the earth, means all the three will be in a line. This occurs whenever there are in the same side or on the opposite side. While low neap tide occurs when the sun and moon line up at 90 degree to each other. Also, there are flood currents and ebb currents of these tides. Flood currents are the currents which are moving towards the coast, while ebb currents are the current which is moving away from the coast, receding actually. Now we will discuss about the types of tidal plant facilities. Basically, there are three kind of tidal plants. One is tidal barrage, second is tidal current turbines, and the third is dynamic tidal power plants. If we talk about tidal barrage, it has two systems, single basin system and double basin system. In this, a barrage is constructed near the coastal region, and behind it a catchment area is there which is known as basin, and the barrage has a gate which is known as sluice gate, and the turbine is installed there. What is actually the working of these single basin or double basin barrage tidal plants? It's very simple. You can see here that in the high tides, or when the currents are flowing towards the coast, then the height on the seaside will be more than the basin side, and when the gates are opened, and then the water will flow through these gates into the basin and rotates the turbine which is installed in between these two near the sluice gate, and because of the rotation of the turbine, electrical energy is generated. And when the tide is going out, it means in the case of the ebb currents or neap tides, the level of the water on the seaside will go on decreasing, and after a point it will be less than the level of the water in the basin. Then the sluice gates are opened and the water will flow from the basin into the sea, and in this process again the turbine rotates and electrical energy is generated. Reversible turbines may be used in tidal power plants, in which the turbines rotate for flow of direction in both directions. If we talk about single basin system, so there are ebb generation systems, flood generation systems, and two-way generation systems are there. In ebb generation, the water is trapped in the basin and gates are kept closed, and when the tide has ebbed sufficiently on the seaside, then the gates are open and turbine starts spinning and generating the electrical energy. While in flood generation, the basin is filled with water which is generated at flood turbine, means the water will now flow from the seaside into the basin in this system. In two-way generation systems, as I have already told, that in this flood generation and ebb generation both happens. Now if we talk about double basin system, in this there are two basins, but it operates similar to an ebb generation single basin system. In this, the second basin is filled with water which is pumped from the first basin in the case of the high tide, and in the neap tide or ebb current system, the water will flow from the second basin into the first basin and from first basin into the sea and generate the electrical energy. These are few current sites of tidal barrage which I am showing you here. This one is in the France, having 24 reversible 10 megawatt turbines generating 240 megawatt of megawatt power and a net power output of 480 gigawatt hour per year. And another one is Annapolis tidal generation facility, which is on the Bay of Fundy, Canada.